about the schedules that you guys have, which is 5 days of intense full-time job, and IPL roasts you for something like 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays. That's, yes? Okay. So, it looks like, it takes a pretty determined lot to show up and stay full day. Congrats to you guys, and hopefully we'll make it worthwhile. I do not enjoy monologues, so I'm absolutely hoping this will be a very interactive session. I expect to learn as much from you guys. Are you one of the ones who's going to make it interactive?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So, first, okay. Okay, good luck. And so, why did you show up today? Why did you decide to stay back and not go down for the beer, down mud pie or whatever it is? After that, but why did you decide 4:30 to, You have to? Okay, good. So, what are you hoping to learn or hear from me today? I mean, I know I came up with what looks like a good teaser, which is what game are you playing and how do you keep score? I mean, when I first read this, it's from one of the vice presidents of Dropbox. He was a VC before this. I thought it really related to what I did and what I saw as my role as somebody who held products, you know. So, wanted to know, this is all you know. So, why did you show up? I'll just make some notes on and see if we are able to cover some of those aspects. So, why are you here? What do you want to know? My industrial journey, okay. That's... Okay. 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 Fine. Okay. 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 Sure. So to give a brief background, these are the companies I worked with. Incidentally, it wasn't called Zoho when I left them. I was with Zoho from 2001 to 2008. They used to be called AdventNet at that point of time. Incidentally, I was not on the Zoho product line. Zoho also has a product called Manage Engine products, which are for enterprise products, network management, enterprise products for small and medium enterprises. So, Zoho was a brand that was launched as a product somewhere in 2005, 2006, and towards 2009, 6 months after I left or something, they renamed as Zoho since it was a more visible brand. So, a lot of network management products during this. Spent about 5 years at InMobi, building products for both sides of marketplaces, which is both the advertiser on one side and publisher on other. Typically, what is your view when somebody says marketplace? What do you think? Beg your pardon? Great. So, typically in all these marketplaces, there is a supply side and a demand side. Okay. So, for example, for Ola, which is a marketplace, the drivers would be the supply. Okay. And users like you and me who are looking for rides would be the demand. So, the interesting and exciting and difficult part of these marketplaces is to balance these and see how you can take this off the ground effectively, because you participate, but you don't control either of them entirely, right? Pool Circle again was my startup. Founded it in 2013, grew to be the largest carpool network in Bangalore, which was still not enough to sustain it long enough to survive. We definitely got a lot of things right, but we got more things wrong, and I can talk to you about some of those weaved into some of the stories we talk about today. Currently, I head product for Tambora Systems. We provide QoE services for mobile video. So, if you're watching a video and you have a lot of buffering, we provide technology that works with your Airtel or Vodafone or whichever carrier you are with, to deliver better quality of experience for you. That's briefly my journey. I'm not going to talk much more about my journey, but more about how do we flip this? Okay. Sure. Okay. 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 You want to do different mistakes? Okay. Okay. Sure. Fine. So, okay. I'll put it this way. So, I mean, a lot of what in fact, the core study, the case study we are talking about is going to involve full circle. I'd rather stick with this, okay? And there is lot of learning that I'm going to talk about. The whole thing is centered around what happened in full circle and so on, though not explicitly. So it is on these lines. Not that I'm hung up on this, but as far as full circle is concerned, let me take a step back and talk about that. I started full circle because I absolutely thought it had to be done, right? I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that there is huge traffic challenges in Bangalore, right? I knew to start with there were a lot of vehicles with one seat, one passenger on those, right? Clearly the vision was to say, for example, look at any of the large cities in the West. I mean, it's getting to India also. You have public transport, you have the metro lines. If you look at any of these large cities, you'd look at a metro line like this, right? In different colors, literally zigzagging the city. It covers anywhere to anywhere you could go with a few hops. That's how most cities, public transportation and underground systems are built. The vision of full circle was to not have 8 or 10 lines like this. Vision of full circle was to have 100,000 lines like this. Each of them being your car that you are willing to let somebody into, right? And each of it is smart. You can access it. You can find somebody near you who is going to the destination near you. That was the vision. So think of subway system in any of London, Paris, New York, any of the big cities. You look at the crisscross, you have 8 colors, right? Think of full circle as a network which wanted to do 100,000 lines, right? All dynamic, all smart, all connected, all sharing, right? That was the vision of full circle. And the idea was also straightforward in that we definitely believe that Ola and Uber are extremely inefficient models because they don't fill the empty seat, they don't address the empty seat problem. For example, unless you take the more recent Ola, Pool and Uber share, they are still introducing more cars into the road. Let's talk briefly about the trade-offs that you have between doing something like a Ola, Uber and something like a full circle on one hand, right? Let's be very clear about this. So for example, in full circle is a mere technology platform, right? We bring buyers and sellers together similar to the way eBay brings sellers and borrowers together, right? Now, we don't own drivers. They are not contracted. They can go to office whatever time they want. So that's the model. If you take the Uber, Ola model, they contract with the drivers, right? Which means and they can incentivize the driver to be around, participate in the network long enough. They can say for the first 2 months, we are going to give you 30,000 irrespective of whether you do a ride or not, right? I'm not damning one model against the other. I'm just trying to play the two. What does it take to build a marketplace which is a pure technology platform, and what does it take to build a network like Uber or Ola, right? So let's look at a key learning and key understanding what we have on building marketplaces. As far as marketplaces is concerned, the first thing you want to nail is what is called the supply, which is unless you have drivers on your network, you are not going to have riders coming in. Simple. Similarly, if you take Flipkart or Amazon, unless you have merchants selling their goods or unless you have goods that you have bought and you are selling it, you are not going to have buyers. So, in all these models, nailing the supply, any marketplace would first concentrate on nailing the supply, right? And say, how do I get the goods that I am selling or renting or whatever on board, right? In a peer-to-peer model, that's not very easy to achieve, right? While Ola or Uber can say, okay, we are launching it in a very small place, say Koramangala alone, we are going to make morning rides available to people, right? And these riders will go anywhere they want. If you want him to go to Whitefield, he'll go. If you want to go to Electronic City, he'll go. If you want to go to Hebal, he'll go. Whereas in a model like a peer-to-peer model, right? You're not, let's say you decide to be part of my platform, and let's say you drive from say, Koramangala to Whitefield. In the morning, if somebody wants to go to Electronic City, obviously you're not going to go to that, right? And you're going to go at the time that you want as against the driver who would do it at any point of time. And the other realization is, so how do we solve this, right? So in all these marketplaces, it's extremely important to start very, very narrow and then scale it beyond that. For example, if you looked at Amazon, and this is all hindsight wisdom for others, but probably, I'm sure, Jeff Bezos thought about it. For example, they started with books, right? Look at it this way. Let's say in 1998 that they launched their service full time, right? So look at what is the consumption pattern of books. I mean, you're fine if it comes 2-3 days later. It's compact and it's not bulky, it's not too hard to deliver. You drop it, it doesn't break or anything like that. So the use case that, so easy delivery, yes, people, you want books? Yeah, we are competing with Barnes and Noble. Not anymore. You can buy these with Amazon, and then they extended it to a different case, which was, it became books and music, right? Music is again very, very compact, easily packable, you can send it across. It's only now that Flipkart and Amazon are selling anything between washing machine to probably much bigger things, right? So these, so coming back to this, that's one aspect of what we are going to talk about in the customer value proposition and the thing. Any deeper insights you wanted on Full Circle? Anything you wanted to go around? Yeah, I mean, they are doing a much better job than Full Circle did, right? And they're doing pretty well by now. I think they have good traction. Here is what Quick Ride started around the same time we did, and then they suspended operation at some point of time. And again, they came back in 2013, smarter with more learning. And then over the last 3 years, they've really scaled it well. And we towards the end of 2016, we decided to drop off and said, this is not going the way it is. And so we decided more. Yeah, I think Quick Ride is doing a great job. Beg your pardon? Okay. See, actually, for all these businesses that are changing the model and introducing newer behaviors, if you're getting into something like this, you should never really bother about, I'm not saying you shouldn't bother about regulations. I'm saying you shouldn't let these regulations stop you. Okay. Here is what, see, when I was talking, when we were, look at it this way, the Bangalore Traffic Police, which is an entity which governs the traffic patterns in the city, they were actually promoting Full Circle. And they were actually promoting every platform. However, the Transport Authority, which is the RTO and so on, they take a different view of it. They will basically say, do you have a yellow board? If you don't have a yellow board, you can't do this, right? The good news is that, and incidentally, this is what I had heard when I was talking to the one of the commissioner in Delhi in 2015. He said, we still want you guys to do this. We are now very busy regulating Ola and Uber. We'll come to you guys after you are done. But the good thing is, if you make this work, for example, when regulation hits you when you're very small, it's hard to work this out. But if regulation hits you after you've been funded and you've grown to some size, you have other support systems that are in place to help you navigate this. I'm not saying you're going to be always successful in doing that, but for example, if a large VC puts money into Quick Ride, and I definitely hope they do. And a company called Scoop in the US has raised in the region of 30 million doing peer-to-peer ride sharing, right? So, which one? Scoop, yeah? They are doing a peer-to-peer ride sharing that's taken off. And in fact, interestingly, I mean, these are all hindsight wisdom. Their product seems a lot similar to the product we built. It's a product that's available for direct consumers, but also has an enterprise angle to it. For example, in Pool Circle, what we did is, for example, you're a direct consumer, you log in with your mobile number and use it. Pool Circle also had the option for you to enter your company email address, provided your company was our customer, and have rides only with your employees, with your colleagues, that is, right? We were the first, incidentally, to put in a revenue model around carpooling application for enterprises, take it to the market, and we actually got about 12, 13 customers. But the personal vision for me was really this 100,000 smart cars, not different networks for GE, Mindtree. This was Flipkart and multiple. This was not our goal. Our goal was to be the Facebook for commuting or the Uber for commuting, and not an enterprise app which was for. I'm not saying anything wrong with that, but that's not the way I was thinking about that. That was not the direction that I wanted to take this in. Scoop has an enterprise and a direct consumer app, and they've been successful in both. And if you look at it, and you'll go to some aspects of it. Here is one area that I advise every product manager I talk to actually obsess about, right? It's all about okay.
That is something which we can keep on improving. There must be so much and we must stop doing innovative, creative not for problem creating. You might be hooked to the methods are its own concept.
See, I don't, again.
If you can't measure something, you can't improve it. It's something therefore we need to have metrics so it can improve.
Yeah, I mean, so for example, when during the Pool Circle days, the third biggest hire, rather the second biggest hire we did was a data scientist. Who in all these direct consumer play, especially, I'm not saying it's not the case with enterprise business. You literally live and die by the data that you have and insights that you can deliver from that. You would always start with a hypothesis, which is why I like to call what is really known as two aspects of, you are right in the sense you want to dig down into the quantitative numbers, but you also want a qualitative feedback and qualitative approach to it. This is how we solved it. We had one person who was literally calling everybody who downloaded our product. Okay, so it's a good old data collection. This person would have a spreadsheet. She would call like 35, 50 people. It started becoming everybody that registered, and then it became 60% of the users is what we could cover, then 40% and lesser. But we were still, even though we were a consumer business acquiring several hundred customers a day, we made it a point to have a team which was actually, calling customers and gaining insights from them. That is not a substitution for the data that we are going to collect. For example, how long do users exist on your platform? On day 7, day 30, how many users are active? These are not, there's finite time and resource you have, right? So, I would only partially agree with you. I'll put it this way. There's no escaping the importance and dependence on data. It's not going to happen. It should not happen. But don't blindly go by the data. I'll also give this example, right? So, we were looking at, when I was a product manager in Zoho, we were looking at every feature request they came, we could track it and have a number associated with it. and basically say when the product grooming came and when we were constructing the roadmap for the next release, we'll say what are the ones they had to prioritize. And I had a view on that, and we had a sequence, and I was having a friendly chat with my support lead and said, dude, what do you think we should do? The 3 features that he said we should build were pretty much the same as what we had come up with in the list. But again, there are other things as a product manager you are expected to do. You are also looking at which are the features the competition is talking about, what are the features your market is growing towards, what are the new technologies that are available that you can leverage to. So product management is not about taking in the customer feedback and building that, right? It's one aspect of your roadmap is what you get from the customer, but your market, your competition all contribute to building your roadmap as such, right? So yeah, so this was a good advice I had when from one of my bosses who said, the first day of your product, start writing the press release of the product, right? The reason for that being, there are two aspects that you want to really obsess about, not just focus on, which is who is your customer and what problem are you solving for them, right? That really is, even in the companies that I mentor now, I unfairly bucket them into a problem statement that sometimes the founder may not agree with that. It's very tempting to say, hey, we can also solve this use case, or we can also solve this customer segment. But I'm very clear in bucketing the company and saying, okay, you are solving this problem for this customer, right? I have found that useful because we'll talk about it in some of the slides we are going to talk about. For example, let's look at these 3 segments, right? I'll just quickly jump to this. And this also ties back to the distinction between the first one being Full Circle and Quick Ride, the second one being somebody like a Ola and Uber, and third one being something like a BlaBlaCar, which was in operation for some time and which folded up. I mean, think about it. These 3 use cases, which is, let's think about it, right? You're rolling out an app, right, which will let you to go from point A to point B. Simple, right? However, these 3 seemingly, one is we are talking about going to office every day, coming back. One is going to the airport tomorrow, or after today evening you came for a thing, you want to meet somebody tomorrow morning, whatever it is. It's on demand, right? Third is you want to go from here to Mysore or here to Hyderabad on a weekend. From a product perspective, right? From a product alone perspective, right? It seems it's the same app, you can do all the 3. But think about it, any of these choices that you take, you are solving a different problem and it takes your business in extremely different direction. For example, this ends you up in something like a Full Circle. This ends you up with a Ola kind of business, and that ends you up in a... The problem being in startup, you're always optimizing for resources, which means it is not just adding a feature or adding a tab, right? Adding a tab and feature is something you can do, right? Developers can do it in weeks or days or whatever it is, months. But how are you going to roll out the service? How are you going to price it? How are you going to build the demand for it? What are you going to go out and say that you do, right? If I do all the 3, if I do only this, you can say Full Circle aims to remove driving stress for daily commuters. It resonates with you. You're looking at the papers tomorrow, you find a press release which says that, let's say Times of India decided on the front page we are going to feature your startup for whatever reason. You want to say, my startup reduces driving stress for daily commuters, right? Then you define your daily customer to who you are. Again, saying my product can solve a lot of problems or for a lot of customers is both counterintuitive in the early stage of, especially since one of you mentioned that many of you have entrepreneurial aspirations. No? So, try to define your customer segment and... Okay.
Who wish to relieve of the rain or is it the the transport department, that company who wants to provide the service, they want to reduce the cost of it.
Okay.
How do we tackle the person?
Okay. So, let's say you want to have a target persona and be aware of, okay, you start with really this. You really start with who can this be useful for? A, B, C, D. And then you say, which is the market, which is the customer segment which has the least resistance to a service like this or has a least entry barrier. For example, I could say enterprises, right? But the discovery I had was enterprises take a lot of time to decide, right? They may take 6 months to decide, right? They have, and this is a service that cannot fly for a small enterprise. If you have 300 employees, the chance that a carpooling network for your employees is not going to fly. So it has to be a large enterprise. It has to be a Mindtree or a GE or one of those large. And larger the enterprise, you also know that the decision cycles and rollout are going to be harder. And you also know that many of these have their own transport systems and whatever. So it's really how incentivized are they to promote your service, right? Are they going to just send a mail to everybody and say, hey, this is available, take it once in 3 months? Or is it a direct consumer service? See, the distinction is, with sufficient money, direct consumer business you can grow rapidly. Okay, with money. And that with money is a big quote in quote, right? Direct consumer takes a lot of money to take off the ground. It's not simple. So the cost of acquisition you're talking about, when Ola gives you 100 rides of the 100 rupees of the first ride, or refer a friend and get 200 rupees, it all boils down to high cost of user acquisition, right? Which is pumped by the VCs because they see long-term value in the business, right? Enterprise, on the other hand, you would rarely lose money, right? One of my bosses gave me this thing. He said, are you doing a direct consumer or a enterprise play? He said, if you do an enterprise, you'll be left with something. You'll neither be a Flipkart nor a completely broke guy. You would end up with something. You can acquire some customers at some level, some traction will be there. But if you are saying, I want to make it big or go home, then an enterprise business may be the right option for you. The reason we did enterprise was, we were trying to bootstrap this direct consumer business. We also needed cash flow, right? Which meant we did have some of the customers who were, we were basically, I'm not saying that's the best strategy to follow, but then at one level I would also argue that any strategy that helps you survive and fight for one more day or one more week or one more quarter is a strategy that you would do. So, again, we talked about this in some way. How are you positioning it? For example, let's talk about one of the positioning exercises that we did for Tambora Systems, my company that I had products for. We were in the US, we were saying this is a tool that helps you manage congestion. In congested areas, when users are browsing and they see a lot of buffering, they hate your service. So we'll provide a service which helps you, AT&T, or you, Verizon, to roll out this service, which will help your consumers have great experience when they are on your platform, right? They can request something. Boom, we don't have any congestion, right? But we know from the conversations we had and the people we spoke to that there are congestion available. Congestion is there. But we also dug deep to understand that it wasn't in the US carrier's DNA to come out and say, pay extra for premium service. The moment AT&T did it, they would be slaughtered by Verizon, which would say, hey, you don't even have to pay for great service on our network. Why do you want to pay $4 for AT&T? So the way we found better reception was to position it as a guarantee tool, right? It was more an insurance. When you buy insurance, it doesn't mean you're going to fall sick or something bad is going to happen to you. Assurance is something that people wanted to pay a premium for. That started resonating better, right? Even with positioning, right? Try selling a ride sharing application and say you will save your fuel bill. Okay? People are going to say, dude, I pay 18,000 rupees EMI for my Honda City. I'm not here to save 4 rupees on my petrol cost, right? Though we did find out that that was a strong reason for people to carpool. The moment we introduced Paytm based money transfer, which was online, we definitely saw a huge bump in the usage of the app, which meant cash and cost reduction was a real reason, but that's not what people were admitting. Say, why don't you say, go green and save the planet by using your thing? That finds comparatively better resonance, you know. So it's pretty much the same product, both two pain points that are sort of similar to the user, but one finds more acceptance because I'm not telling a Honda City owner to say save on your fuel bill, but I'm saying appealing to what you could call a sure. MOV or MNO? MNO is a mobile network operator. So it is your, or you could say, service provider. So we spoke about this briefly, and we can come back to this. So we talked about, you identified 3-4 segments, right? We said direct consumer could be an option, enterprises could be an option, governments could be an option, for example, even universities could be an option, right, for the same carpooling tool, right? These are some of the parameters the first thing I would always look at, is it a large enough market? Is always a question that I would challenge myself on. At the end of the day, many of these businesses are extremely hard to take off the ground, and if it is not a significantly large market, you want to question whether it is even if you are looking at a VC based business again, the first thing many of the VCs ask is, how big can this market be? So have you guys been exposed to what a typical pitch deck has, an investor deck has? I'm not sure. Again, there's a few variants of that, and here is the version that I have used, and something that resonates with, which is, it starts with, what is the problem you're solving? Second is, how big is it? Right? So if you're talking about ride sharing, you could extend it to what Uber Eats is doing, food delivery, something that Gojek in Southeast Asia is doing mobile payments, right? Because it's an easier way to, when somebody delivers food to you, they're paying you using something, and Gojek is one of the biggest payment provider in Southeast Asia now. They started as a two-wheeler based platform which was giving you bike rides or deliveries, but they also have a pretty robust mobile wallet business. So, in fact, the conversation I've had with one of the founders who raised money from Masayoshi-san, SoftBank, was one of the earliest questions he would ask was, how big can it be? Right? And of course, SoftBank is a late stage investor. They come in with huge pockets in a very late stage after the initial risks have been addressed. So their thing is, how big can this be and how fast can you scale this? Coming back to your question, if you are starting up now, your problem is not how do you scale. Your problem is not how do you take it from 10,000 users to 200,000 users or 2 million users. Your problem is how do you start with acquiring the first 10 customers. Even this was again a learning in Pool Circle. We said this is what the app is going to look like. The product, I mean, great user experience. You put in Koramangala to Hebbar, it's going to show you all the options. People click on it. There's a handshake. We spent a lot of time ideating these and coming up with these flows. It turned out none of this is really useful at all. Because when the first customer joins your app, he sees 0 options. And you always start with the first customer, right? So, Koramangala to the sequences we wanted to see are A, B, C, D, and the sequences we were seeing is A, next customer A, third customer A, and that's it. So, figuring out how are you going to solve the first customer problem is the most important in most of these cases. Not way down the line, how are we going to pay, how are we going to price it. In fact, in one of the discussions I was having, we were saying internally, for the first 6 months, let's look at two options. We'll look at user acquisition, of course, because we have to acquire users to do something out of it. Let's focus on user stickiness. How are we going to get users to continue using the service? For example, in Full Circle, we are launching a service, in Tambora, we are launching a service, which is download this app and get 5 hours of Boost free. Boost is the terminology for requesting hostel access for 30 minutes, right? So we were saying we are going to give everybody 5 hours of Boost free. And now I'm saying we'll give them 5 hours, but it will be 30 minutes for 10 days, not 5 hours. It is 5 hours still, but it will be spread because I want the user to come back on the second day. I want the user to come back and experience the product. So getting your users, so it also goes back to your measurement and all that. You can't measure if the user is dropping off, and you will know that the user is dropping off only if you measure, right? The mobile app business, right, it's extremely hard, especially unless you are a Facebook or an established player. Guess what could be the retention ratio on day 3 of a mobile application? Anybody has a guess? Let's say on day 3, how many users? Let's say you assume 100 users on day 1. On day 3, how many are users? Anybody has a different number? 5%? 1 app per? Okay. No. I'm talking about a scenario where 100 users downloaded an app, and on day 3, how many are after? How many are active? No, I think he was closest. He said 20 to 30. The actual number, again, it varies based on genre and multiple other things. 23% are the users that are active on day 3. So, which means, yeah, so there is 23%, so 77% of the users have disappeared by day 3, right? And on day 90, it is in the region of 7% or 9%. Of course, it's a curve like this. The curve like this, tending to a 0. So, the bulk of the drop happens in the very early stages. So, how's it going so far? I mean, do we need to go ahead or? Not solving the
problem all the time.
Okay.
But just to ensure that the right answer.
Okay.
Understand that there are multiple problems. Ola,
Okay. 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 See.
For example, you have a human body. The main objective of the human body is to not die.
Okay. Okay.
Similarly, the main objective of a Ola or a Uber kind of marketplace is to ensure that the right happens.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
That's the heart.
See, okay. Again.
This is what the heart
Okay. Again, I wish I had a ready-made answer for that. See, the thing is, okay, that's a good question. That's a good question, and it brings me to the second point I had mentioned about, which is the zoom in and zoom out part. I find that quite useful. Right? What happens is, as product managers, you have two distinct roles. Your two avatars rolled into one. At one level, it is what I call a zoom in, which is you get down into execution, you're talking to customers, you're talking to engineering to build it, you're ensuring it's going, you're talking to your sales to ensure it's being pitched right, the marketing is doing the right level of exposure to the product. It's very execution driven, very activity driven role. The zoom out that I talked about, this is as a single founder, I found it extremely hard to do this, right? Which is completely removing yourself from this and saying, hey, I've been at this for about 6 months now, 9 months now, 12 months now, 14 months now, whatever it is, and this is where I am. I had an initial number which said A, B, C, D. These numbers are different. Now, am I on the right track? So this role requires you to be extremely vested in this. You're not doubting whether you're doing the right thing when you're talking to sales and saying, building your plan, or talking to marketing and talking about how do you position this. But you also need to be able to do this. Move up. No, not just roadmap. Okay, let's assume for 3 days, you're going to go away, you're going to go to Himalayas, or wherever 3 days can take you. Fundamentally look at this as a product that's not yours, right? Evaluate whether people need it. Be objective and honest. Take off your involvement and all that from it. I think this is a product. If you are a customer of this, would you use this one? Is it solving your problem? Are we bullshitting and kidding ourselves into thinking this is going to scale or whatever? Seriously challenging yourself and asking yourself hard question on whether you should continue doing this. So that's not a bad. I'll grant it to you. That's not a. Can I have some water? Yeah, you said something about detachment. No, see, this is viewing your product with some level of objectivity. That's what I'm saying, right? Of saying, okay, these are the questions you're going to ask. Okay, there are other options available to solve this problem. How have those options fared? How have the other alternatives taken off? Has the behavior change that I wanted to do? Let's even take the case of Pool Circle. We were watching Ola and Uber scale, and during my early stage of starting it, there was one newspaper, and the press always likes to dramatize things, right? Is Pool Circle going to kill Uber? Or something somebody wrote. Okay, gives you a lot of hype. Okay, but weeks, months, quarters pass, and you're not even Uber and Ola are not even aware that you exist, right? And you basically say, should we continue? At some level, for the entrepreneurs, it is not just about why should I not continue? Why should I quit now? No, don't quit. You have the next customer coming in, next investor coming in, next milestone coming in, next release will solve your problem. The more pertinent question to ask is, why should I continue doing this? That is the state I'm talking about, which is looking at long-term horizon, looking at, some people like to put it as missing the forest for the trees, getting too involved in the execution to miss out the big picture and losing sight of where you are headed. And while 1.5 years, 2 years is the time frame you gave yourself, now it is 24 months, closer to 30 months, and we are going in a completely different direction and not making the right impact. Given infinite time and resource, and nobody has infinite time and resource, everything and anything may work. In the startup ecosystem, the positivity of persistence is also hugely glorified. But I think the startup ecosystem needs to, one advice if I were to go back to startup ecosystem is to stop glorifying persistence and say, yeah, be persistent. I'm not saying go up on the first challenge that you face, but also be realistic in what you, yeah.
mind is when do you do this? Look at the right scenario. Multiple players. Like small players also, they're still competing. Pretty much they'll never make money. They're still getting money, they're continuing to have a plan. When do they, this is the right time to get this zoom out and say where you want to be?
Okay. Not all zoom outs need to result in a decision of saying, no, I want to quit. We are clear about that, right? Zoom outs, the logical, I am talking about zoom out as a way to evaluate. Sometimes it may just require a course correction. Sometimes it may require a more significant pivot. I'm not necessarily saying zoom out should result in, okay, deciding this is not working and going home. I'm not saying that. I'm saying zoom out may result in multiple things. Zoom out may say, yes, it may say, yes, we are not where we want to be because of the mistakes we did, but in the last 3-4 months, we have course corrected and we are on the right track. That may be an outcome. Or it may be, this is not working, we want to look at a newer segment, we want to invest a little bit more, talk to friends and family, get more investment into it and try some other option. Or it may be a more significant pivot, right? Of saying, one of the companies I work closely with did a significant pivot. Pivot is a way to change the business course. These are extremely painful. And the hard part of this is random investors would randomly give you advice. The hard part for entrepreneurs is to figure out which is the right advice and which is a random yarn, right? Because advice is dime a dozen, right? And again, people would come and say, dude, you should try the shuttle model, man. You should try the TripGo, one company, I forgot the name, Zipgo. You should try the Zipgo model, that's attracting some funding. In the investor community, there is a fair amount of bias towards something that has secured funding. Okay? And that's the world that they live in, glory to them. But it's not really bulletproof, it's not really foolproof, right? It's Q6 at best, not even that at worst. You know? So, the hard thing for an entrepreneur is to filter that, and these pivots are pretty hard internally for a entrepreneur, because the fair amount of emotional attachment towards the idea you have, and moving it requires some soul searching and a snake like shedding off your skin and no, see, I recommend this zoom in and zoom out for any business at any stage. It is not a tool for when you're sick or when you're not doing well. It is as much important even when you're doing well. Again, as I said, this is a way to move away from the execution mode to a more strategic mode. Since the product manager's role is a combination of tactical and strategic, and it is not always possible to do strategic things tactically and what. Move away, take a step back. I mean, it could even be the first half of Mondays, when during the weekend you've had time to unwind. You want to spend the first 3 hours of a Monday morning to say, okay, I'm going to spend some time evaluating some of the big picture items. Or it could be a more how are we doing on time? This is again an aspect we spoke about, right? I mean, the good part is, if you have scaled something, right? Now let's look at why an investor would back a Ola on adjacent model, right? Again, we've talked sufficiently about how the idea is important, but in the overall outcome, it plays a relatively less part than execution they talk about, which is a bigger multiplier than the idea itself. The hard part for any of these transformational businesses is the ability to execute, right? And so if an investor wants to pump into Ola for, let's say, an intercity ride or a daily commute, for example, companies like Zomato and Swiggy are looking at enterprise businesses more seriously. Food court in enterprises and so on, they may soon be managed by the Swiggies and the Zomatos of the world. One of the reasons for that is the track record of execution. For example, companies like Zoho are amazing execution machines. I mean, it takes years to build it, and the dollars are always waiting for those companies if they want to venture into a new. What makes it easy for a Inmobi or a Ola or a Zoho if they wanted to raise money is the track record of execution they have, right? When I say delivery, I'm really talking about outcome, right? Are you growing year on year? Are customers voting with their wallet for your product? Which is pretty much the. I actually believe there's really only one way to measure. There's only one metric that you could throw to an outsider that nobody can argue with. That's your customer wins and customer repeated wins, right? That's somebody I could be the best. I could be Warren Buffett and say this business model is not going to work. But if you have paying customers who are willing to pay for it repeatedly, hopefully, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who says it will work or not work. You have paying customers is the biggest validation for a business. If you don't have that, you will have to create theories and hypotheses and multiple other things. Again, any questions? Any specific direction you want to steer this in? That person who was supposed to be an active questioner hasn't been active enough. Any? Huh? Okay.
It's a one thing, the person is questioning.
Okay. No, I mean, doesn't mean if you keep asking questions in 9 o'clock we are going to be here.
Creating in my head. Is that one thing is that how you value this? One thing is that you pull out at the right time, that you are not over-invested obsessively. And you're not over-invested.
Okay.
Because probably it's not going to work.
Okay.
And you do it.
Okay.
And situation where you say, I don't want to give up now. I'm not done enough to give up. This has to be taken a little bit further for you to decide to give up.
Okay.
How do you find that right balance? That cannot be a factory.
See, at the end of the day, in some cases it will be the bank balance that's telling you that you can't do it anymore. That's usually a good indicator, something you cannot argue with. In many cases it is also that, see, very often, okay, what you need to watch out for is, it is very similar to a product launch, right? If you ask me after I launch the product, I still can rarely sleep before the launch of a product. The night before the product launch, I can rarely sleep, even after 15 years of running products. I can deal with, obviously I can deal with great feedback. I can even deal with horrible feedback. Okay. The utter nightmare for a product manager is no feedback. That's really, that just means, see, in many cases you are launching products hope with a roadmap and say in many cases the problem that you're talking about are problems in your head that you have decided you want to solve. Most entrepreneurs are a little crazy. Okay, they imagine people have this problem and their product will solve the problem, right? But in reality, I would easily say the biggest reason startup failures, they're not, including possibly full circle, right? They're not solving a problem that's really real. Or the second part could be, or more important, more precisely, they are solving a problem for which the person is not really looking for an immediate solution, right? It's good to have you've done your user research, you picked up your friends and neighbors and connections and said, hey, I'm launching this. You show detailed business plan, wireframes, talk to them about this. They said, dude, this guy wants to do something interesting. Why would I discourage him? I say, yeah, I'm going to use this. Yeah, this is something that I like. Go ahead, go for it. And then you launch the product. You're 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. Nobody is even yelling at you. Bad feedback in a way is good because it shows that your customers care for the solution that you think. And it gives you an opportunity to go back to them with a better product, improved product. That's a great milestone. In fact, your products are passionately yelling at you, right? And saying, I bought this, you screwed me badly. That means they really look forward to this. They picked your product with a lot of hope, and you let them down. Yeah, I mean, not a great place to be in, but at least there's a starting point. You can say, we are going to give you a free whatever, we're going to shower them with goodies if you can. And then, this happened. In Zoho, we had a Solaris version of the product way back in 2004 when I launched the product. Does anybody remember Solaris? I'm sure some of you do, right? Yeah. And it took us a week more to do the integration and rollout and all that. So we scrapped the Solaris version. And there was a customer who started saying, it was an early stage, first few months of the launch. So we decided to drop it, and there was a customer who said, I bought your product only because you were the only one who had a Solaris version. You did this to me. And AdventNet, Zoho as it was now called, extremely customer focused. I could, as a product manager, take the call to give a complete refund. Actually, we gave them, in addition, the same value of credits or whatever it is, which would let them buy more products. And if I'm not wrong, we even decided to put a bill for their a Linux box. That's what we came to. The level of, Amazon talks a lot about customer focus. Probably they are. But if I can talk about one company that is as customer obsessed as Amazon, if not more, it's clearly Zoho. Zoho product managers will bend backwards to keep a customer happy. And that's definitely a learning that you want to. So we were talking about good feedback and bad feedback. There's one question which got sidetracked. Which was that? This question was, okay, you were talking about, is it a gut feel or thing? As I said, the zoom in, zoom out mode doesn't mean you're not passionate about the product. Okay? It just means taking a step back to reflect on where you are. Right? Can you repeat the question? I think I lost you in that.
So, this is the time to pull out because I have not done enough. Sorry, you done enough, and there's not more that can be done. So it's a realistic. You have to pull out. I think that's still not done enough. There's more to do in this. I just feel not so confident because there is too much effort, and hence I'm putting out.
See, again.
So when people pull out, I think that is this also, right? That probably I have just tested with so much work that needs to be done. I'm not feeling very confident about it. And hence I'm giving up. So there's a giving up versus giving up. How do you know that you're not giving up, but you're giving up?
Okay, again, I did not really catch the fine distinction you made between pulling out and giving up. Okay.
At a stage when you have decided that it's time for, let's keep money matters aside.
Okay.
You can have money in the bank.
Okay.
In fact, you have money in the bank to last you 6 months as a person.
Okay. Okay.
And now it's a call that you have to take whether you want to proceed with this or you start with another job. You still have 6 months. You might get a job next month. You still have 5 months for that as well.
Okay.
Now you make a decision that looks like I have to start with a job.
Okay.
Because this is not going to go far anymore. And while making that decision, how are you going to be clear that I am not making this decision because the effort that is required is so humongous that I don't feel very confident whether I can do this or not.
Okay.
And hence, you know what, I don't think this is actually going to work. There's too much to do and I am not sure if I can do this. So let me shut it down. These are actually showing that look, we have done these 10 things and this is the only 10 things that we should be doing. And with this, you should know that this idea is not going to fly anymore.
Okay, that's a good question actually. See, again, if you dig deep enough, even in the second case you may come up with, I should probably try that. I should probably add this feature. I should probably launch it in the US and see. I should probably, there is this infinite number of options you can always think about if you are the determined guy, right? But at the end of the day, numbers don't lie that you wanted to be at 10,000 and you are at 18, right? So for example, if you are saying this is where we wanted to be, and if you are indicatively close, you are trying to climb Everest, 29,000 feet. Let's say you have oxygen supply is there, which is the case you are talking about, right? But still challenges exist. You have taken a road or a route, and if you have to make it, you have to climb down 3,000 steps and then go back. You could still try to do that. But the entrepreneurship is also an extremely hard emotional journey, not just on yourself, on your family also, right? Which means it takes a lot of stamina to do it, and that is the reason why I called pivots hard. And in a way, what you're talking about is a pivot, is it right? Pivot requires you to drop many of the hypotheses and thinking you had and find energy to start all over again. Not start all over again, start from the additional 3,000 steps. I mean, let's take this example itself, right? You're climbing Everest. 24 to 27,000 feet is extremely brutal. Now, it's not just a question of going from 26 to 29. You have to actually go back to 23, course correct and go back to 29. That is a fairly difficult, so for example, let's take about this case, right? If somebody had said, in 2016 mid part when I was in 23,000 feet, realizing that I had to come back 3,000 feet before I could fit. If somebody had said, if you try this other option, which is contracting drivers, this could work. I personally did not have the stamina to, it was not just, as you mentioned, it's not just a case of the bank balance. It is the emotional preparedness you need, the effort you need to put in, and literally having to find new energy to go on, right? If you come back and say, okay, now Sachin Bansal is going to join you as a co-founder, do you want to try? That maybe changes things, you know. But, so unless there are extremely strong reasons, you're basically saying, yes, I've tried that. Doesn't seem to be working. So, here is one interesting observation I have. The questions have all been about startups and starting off on your own, and not so much about product management as a function in large companies versus small companies. What are the expectations and so on? Why is that? Is it because you know that already, or it's not what you want to do? What am I missing here? Different from? Okay. To me, I've usually preferred to take the road I've not gone through. For example, just for the sake of reinventing myself, finding newer things, I would if I were to consider switching from Tambora, it would not be to a telecomish company. Sorry. To move to a startup, mentally you decide to take the plunge. That is the hardest part. Deciding one day that I'm going to do this, I'm going to jump off the cliff now. That is the hardest part. Yes. The way I've discovered from talking to multiple entrepreneurs is, it happens on people talk about aha moment of a product. There is something that turns in the head which says, I want to do something on my own. I want to go and figure this out. Okay. Usually it is, the more skeptical people are, the more determined it will make you. These are some of the symptoms to look for, right? You think, which you probably do already, you think your boss is an idiot, based on whatever hitting the job somebody mentioned, right? So those are some of the indications. And you start with, I want to solve this problem. This is something I want to. Maybe it's a pain that you have faced. Maybe you sat there one morning and said, I would rather have somebody deliver breakfast to me, right? Or somebody who said, I got a document to sign. I'm sitting in a remote place with very poor internet connectivity, but only no. So there's one friend of mine who did a document signing startup. He said he was on a holiday and he got a job offer, which he had to sign and send immediately. Okay. So he was in Bahamas or something and going from pillar to post, trying to find an internet center where he could print out, sign, scan and send it. How would it be on your mobile if you could pull out the document, sign it and send it back? And incidentally, for many of the startups, even if you don't have an interesting story like this, if you're raising money, it's useful to create a story like that. Investors are huge suckers for stories of this kind. It will always go down well, and you may have some luck with that. But it starts with a personal problem. And then you see moving from corporate to thing. It's first the mental, emotional, and right part, left part, whatever part that is. It's a non-thinking, creative aspect of it, and your analytical part will follow through to fill multiple gaps that you need to, which is you need to find a co-founder. You need to find if you ask me one mistake I would never do again, I would never go into something as a single founder that I did. It's a huge amount of de-risking bringing a co-founder in, because he's also waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning and worrying about whether this will work, and so on. So founders are a hard lot. You may want to de-risk that, you may want to do your business projections, you will do all that, but that is all on the strength of the mental switch that has gone off, which says I want to do something. If you want to go from a startup to a corporate, how many of you have heard the term once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur? You heard about that, right? Once a salesy, always a salesy. I think all domains want to glorify themselves with this terminology, but that's okay. What I have found is, the once an entrepreneur, always an entrepreneur doesn't mean you're always going to be doing something on your own. Okay? what I'm discovering now, okay, is that you always operate in that mindset. There are two or three characteristics of that mindset. One is you know no boundaries. You don't say, sales, I thought sales will take care of it, they didn't. You as an entrepreneur, I'd struggled to find an entrepreneur who is passing the buck. Okay, who is saying, I didn't expect to do this to happen, I thought you will take care of this. An entrepreneur doesn't see any boundaries, he'll ram into sales and require it to be done, or move into engineering and ask why it's not done, or go to the CEO and ask why the hell things are not moving. So entrepreneurs don't know any boundaries. The other part is also that I've seen entrepreneurs to be extremely outcome driven, right? While I'm not saying non-entrepreneurs are not outcome driven, an entrepreneur will never say, if achieving a certain outcome is what the expectation is. An entrepreneur will never say, I did these all went well, but the outcome did not come. Entrepreneurs that I have seen are extremely outcome driven. So one is the outcome. At some level, the point I'm making is the success in the steps don't really excite them. You wanted to climb Everest? I did base camp 1, base camp 2. They're sort of always not satisfied. Obviously, you need progress to go to completion, right? But the progress by itself does not give them that gratification. The progress by itself does not give them that satisfaction to do. They'll not say, I took these positives because these happened. Yeah, it didn't work yet. So. See, I'm sure that's for the enterprise to decide, because there are enterprises in which, again, we are talking about slight extremes, right? I'm deliberately introducing an extreme here to make a point, right? I'm not saying an entrepreneur goes into a very established, say, IBM and says this is how it has to work. Obviously, he can't do that, or she can't do that. There are trade-offs that are going to be a thing. But there are larger companies that can, see, when I have interviewed and spoken to companies have usually evaluated me on whether they're ready for this. Somebody has even said, it's going to be reasonably slow, things are not going to move as fast as you want. Are you sure you want to do this? No? Again, entrepreneurs could also take another stand, which is, I got bruised and battered for 3 years. I just want to take it easy for the next 1 or 2 years. I want to do this, chill out, travel business class, and then as always go back to the grind.
I had one question.
Sure.
Want to transition into a product management role from a non-product management.
Okay. Yeah, you see, Zoho is a product company. So here is how I'll look at it, and this is a good question, hopefully pretty relevant for you. This again depends on what sort of company you are in. Right? If you are in a company in a role where it's a product company, product managers exist, and you are a non-product manager, let's say you are an engineer, or let's say you are a project manager, or you are a sales. In that company, it's relatively easy because your credibility is there. You have your track record, multiple other things. What I would say is, just start doing whatever, all the things that a product manager is expected to do. Provided the company is also not big enough where territories are very bound, right? In smart companies, these transitions are appreciated, allowed, so on. So I'll talk about how I moved from an engineer. There were 2 engineers that coded the product that I was a product manager for. Zoho doesn't give you product manager title. You basically take it. Okay, which is basically, what are the things you would do? You would You would push for more customer interaction. You would push to understand more about the market. You would come up with more a plan in terms of a roadmap of the product and so on. These are broad aspects of what a product manager does, which is understanding the market more, understanding the customer more, understanding how the customer is using it, what success are they seeing. These aspects are more. Whereas an engineer is more bothered about coding it, building it, testing something that works, right? You could actually start doing some aspects of that part if you are in a company that encourages these transitions. This is something I always believe. Everybody's job in a company is to remove the headache for their boss, right? If you can do half the work of your boss, if it's a smart boss, he will talk to you and you will talk to him and say, hey, this is where I want to be. Are you going to encourage me on this? If he's not an encouraging boss, you don't want him as your boss anyway, right? Smart bosses like people who do their job, that is, right? So that they can in turn do their boss's job. And it's all a question of moving up the ladder, right? So if it is moving to a different company, right? Again, I'm not required to say this. I think Institute of Product Management is a good initiative. When I met Pinkesh about 10, 12 years back, I met him in one of the NASCOM. In one of the events I met him about 11 years back or so. And interestingly, he was, I still remember, even though it's 10, 11 years, he was extremely excited when he saw a product manager in India. I didn't know this job function existed here. He was genuinely happy, I could see. It's like you're from say little town in Karnataka. You go all the way to Iceland and find somebody in that land. That was literally his reaction when he saw me. He said, I'm a product manager for the past 4 years in Zoho, which is a product company. Very good year. So this gives you the qualification to do that. I'll also tell you, some of the product companies don't take in people as product managers from non-product companies, right? Say if you're a services company doing project manager roles or senior quality roles, this shows two things. This gives you the qualification, and more importantly, to me as a hiring manager, this shows your intent. You went through 2 months or 1.5 years of sitting through a brutal Saturday, Sunday without drinking beer. That to me is a big indication that I want to look at this guy seriously, right? Okay.
People like us, we come from service companies and sales.
Okay.
Both is a dangerous combination. All people who understand where effort they are making. On top of that, we have spent too many years. The experience has not beyond 50 years. Now what happens is, especially that I balance wages are not significantly. At the same time, you want to make the part of the product management. I find it very curious to get it.
See, again, I'll put it this way. A lot of these biases are being talked about, right? I'll say, do the bias and just go do it. I mean, I could say, there are a bunch of companies which want only IIT, IIM. I'm not an IIM. There are companies which are not hiring people more than 40. I'm more than 40. There are companies that are not. I'm just saying it. Don't take it personally. Okay. There are companies that are not hiring enough women. I'm a woman. You can think about all these and fret. There's nothing you can do. I can't go back and get an IIT. You can't go back and change your sales background. You can't, if somebody is a woman and the only woman in the room, it takes a lot of effort to change that, right? And if you can't change it, there's no point thinking about it and saying, what do I do with this? I mean, you made this decision, go for it. Very interesting question. Thanks for asking. So I have a guy who reached out to me about 9 months back. This guy has done a PhD in from IIT Delhi in textile engineering. He wants to be a product manager. Okay. So his point was, everywhere I go, I get turned off because I don't have a tech background. I've done products for. I've created products for extremely cold weather textile clothes for extremely low temperatures, right? So it's a very creative thing. And this guy never gave up. Every 1 month, 1.5 months, he used to call me. Sir, can you introduce me to this person? Can you think? Interestingly, you know what happened? 2 days back, he got a job. And everywhere he went, he would be told, you don't have tech background, PhDs are slightly intimidating and so I don't fit. Then we had a lot of conversation. I said, even if it's a customer support role in a product company, you should take it. Start somewhere to get there. If it is a product analyst role, it's a marketing analyst role, take it and work your way through. Is all the options we talked about. 2 days back, he got a job in a company which is taking him in as a customer support executive. Customer support executive to product managers is not unheard of a transition, because they're talking to customer, they understand. A smart guy could navigate over a few years. Interestingly, the point that struck me, and it only struck me as a hindsight, was the CEO of that company was a PhD, right? So in this case, it was that interesting quirk. And I was telling him, dude, in which case probably we should have gone back and targeted companies which had PhDs as CEOs, right? Probably we should have tried that. And hindsight wisdom is always very easy, right? So you can, if this happened, you can say this is how you should have done. But short answer, keep at it. You're doing the right thing by sitting here and getting a degree. To me, somebody who actually went and got a degree is definitely valuable. But also recognize that product management is a lot about credibility, right? And I have also faced this challenge that I've usually tried to move out of, consciously tried to move out of industry, across industries, which means I'm learning a new industry for the first 10 quarters, even as I establish myself. But I've been fine, but I've been comfortable with that uncomfort. Okay. But the part is, keep at it and be prepared to at least in the transition take a hit, and if it has to be at if you want to be at a director level and you're able to make an entry at a senior manager level or something like that, see if you want to take a long-term view and say, yes, I'm going to get into this because this is what I want to do. I moved into technology as a coder when I was 30. Okay. Every manager I've heard I had was older than me. And if you want to do it, you have to do it. Like that. And don't let this, I've been in sales in this, I mean, that's also, when somebody comes and says, we are looking for IITs and IIM, I suggest politely that it's too old for, I'm not really, there have been times when I've got an admission into IIM Bangalore and decided not to do it, for a specific reason, because I wanted to do my own full circle startup. But that's a decision you need to get comfortable with. But again, similar to the startup, when do you quit example, right? That is something you may have to contend with. I hope you don't have to contend with. That's something, but you may. I wish I did. Well, okay. I think I don't know whether we want to go through the presentation for the sake of it, but I think I definitely usually this deck, this is an important slide that we come up with.
I love your sense of humor.
Thank you. Do we have one last question?
It's a very objective question. I have started, I know it's going to require a huge amount of money.
Is your father-in-law extremely rich?
That's not
Okay.
So if I say from the say I will need say a year. Get to the level where I want. I need 10 years. Should I start? But I don't have a 1 year.
Interesting question, and again, what's your plan for remaining 9.999 CR? Okay. Again, I can talk from a technology startup. I don't know what business you're starting. Okay. If you were, let's say I'm an investor with who can. Okay. My question to you is, can you show me using 50,000, 2 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs, whatever amount, that smaller number. That is the whole idea of a lean startup, right? Where today the days of, I don't know if those days ever existed. Let's take the various stage of a startup, right? There is an idea stage. You have an idea, okay? Nobody is funding ideas anymore. Unless you are Sachin Bansal and just came out of Flipkart and started new things, Sachin Bansal will get money. Okay. When prototype, nobody is funding anymore. Okay. MVP or minimum viable product, nobody is funding anymore either. Okay. And if you have paying customers, that's when external investors start getting interested in you. Okay. They start talking about how is your user acquisition cost, so how much are they paying you, if it's a subscription based product, how long are they paying you, and so on, and multiple questions, right? So at the end of the day, they're trying to determine why the hell do you need the money, okay? It's your job to convince them that this is a business. If somebody puts money into, it's a viable business that I'm showing you the unit economics for and showing you what the numbers are. If you put in money, you will get X percent more or X times that or whatever it is. In the absence of that, the question remains, why should I put the money? Why do you need the money if you don't even know? If you are saying, I need the 10 crores to even roll out the first one batch of product. In the technology world, it's not working that way, unfortunately. If you're in a hardware business, where you need to put up a plan to roll out the first thing, even then the question would be, is that something you can buy somebody, you add your secret sauce to it, multiple of those options. Again, with the limited product line or line of business that you talked about, if you want to expand on that and say what business it is, then it probably helps me give a better direction on that.
Well, essentially the idea is related to smart locking.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. In which case, these are some of the options you could do. Try to determine who your customer is expected to be. Okay, and go to him and tell him this is the product I intend to launch. I'll make it available for this is what it's going to do to your business. Okay, this is something that you may be willing to invest a little bit of seed money. A lot of friends I know have got seed money from people who could be their customers, right? A bot mitigation tool. For example, one of my friends started a company that can prevent bots from scanning your website. For example, your Quicker, now OLX could write a little routine. It will go and grab all the listings from Quicker, right? It's a bot that can do that. But then the product cannot block all bots because Google itself is a bot, right? So it has to determine which is a bad bot and block it and not block good bot. So he found that a company, a large online seller was happy to give him some money to build this product, right? So if you build on the value proposition, take it to your customer and see if they'll give you money for that. Buy it, or if they are big enough and know you well, are they willing to partner you in that? Is that a business that seems valuable to them? I mean, you give them equity, whatever. those could be some of the options. But if it's a regular tech and you go to a Sequoia or Axel and tell them this is the idea I have, can you give me 10 crores? I don't think that's happening. Okay?
In that case, starters still have a bit of a chance to get some seed from somewhere.
See, usually, okay, this is how most B2B startups are built, the way I see it. You've identified your co-founder. There's hopefully at least one tech thing. You and your co-founder are building your product on weekends, nights, if you're not on times that you're not sitting in IPL classes. You build that product and possibly take it as close to completion when you're still on your day job and getting your pay. Hopefully your day job gets done too, and that gives you some reduces the you're not earning money during the product development phase, and you have a plan which says I'm going to do online marketing, I'm going to acquire. So in this, the way to secure funding for direct of B2C is a playbook that's well known. What's your customer acquisition cost? What is your LTV of the user? Is it more? Can you scale? Can you optimize less on the acquisition cost and extend more on the LTV of the user? Unit economics proved, you can get funding. I mean, again, I'm oversimplifying it, but if you were to talk about direct consumer, the point is you would build the product when you still have a day job, scrape through weekends, late nights, that gives you some runway in terms of you're not burning cash during that. You launch it. Again, funding, we're not even talking about seed, not even Series A or whatever, right? We're talking about even pre-seed or whatever it is. You need some traction before you can put yourself in front of customers and say, hey, this is what we built, these are the numbers we have. Which is also why somebody asked about our metrics overrated, right? Talk to an investor without metrics and you'll figure out you'll figure out why metrics are not overrated. I mean, if you want to run your mom and pop shop the way you want it, then do on gut feel, hearsay, whatever it is, but everything else is. Looking for a? Okay. Okay, I think if there are no other questions, we can wrap it up now. Connect with me on LinkedIn, no? Connect with me on LinkedIn, that's the easiest. LinkedIn is the easiest to find.
What are you doing on
5th and 6th of October, I don't know why. Okay. Okay. Who is we? Okay. Okay. Is it Saturday, Sunday, or what day is it? Friday, Saturday, is it? Can you send me an invite? Okay. So, help me understand. You're part of the Product Leaders Forum? Okay. Okay. You can send it to Raghu at fullcircle.com. At fullcircle.com. I was not arrogant enough to make it R at fullcircle.com. So if you're a founder, you want to do arrogant things like that, or smoke weed on live TV. Elon Musk did it, you know that, right? A lot of his investors are not anymore. Elon Musk.
about it.
Yes, even my
Just did it on TV.
it's right from nothing. Doing it and it's right from nothing. And that's why it's more than red stone. It's a big fan of smoking weed and doing it.
But you don't do that on live TV and to show that. You can say don't smoke weed and say that, right? That's
What's the number? Sorry.
mobile number, is it? 96111 98961 1. So you're both volunteers for the product. So quickly, what do you guys do? I just want sales Wipro. What do you do? Siemens, product manager. Okay, why are you attending this? You want to be a better product manager? Huh? Oh, okay. Congrats, man. Yourself? Okay. 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 Yourself, sir? SAP. In sales or technology? Oracle. Okay. At Candela. Okay. Okay. And Juniper. At Tata Communication. McAfee. Good luck. I hope this was useful and worth your time hanging around. Okay. That's on a Saturday and Sunday. Oh, Friday and Saturday. Should we put it off?